So great. Thank you all for being here. And we're going to talk a little bit about networking somewhat later, but it's important to build those relationships, those face-to-face relationships. We'll get some advice from some of the folks here who are experts. But we're going to talk a little bit now about what they do and get to know them a little bit. So Matt, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your company and what you do there.
Okay. Matt Jacoby. I work at Bernardo Architects here in Spokane. We were founded in 1991. We're a firm of 23 people, full service architectural, as well as we have 3 landscape architects and interior design as well. So work on a variety of projects, retail, commercial, institutional, military. We're really kind of 2 firms melded. We do half public work and half private work.
Great. And you have one of the coolest buildings downtown.
Thank you.
Great remodel. If you ever get a chance to see the Bernardo Wills location, it's amazing.
We renovated, it'll be our 2-year anniversary of moving in April, but we renovated a 100-year-old warehouse and turned it into a Class A office building as well as a LEED certified building.
Yeah.
I'm proud of it.
And which architectural firm did you hire to help you with that? Just a little trick question.
Which contractor didn't they hire?
Oh, right. There you go. That's another one. Great. All right, Taryn.
Hi, I'm Taryn Erickson, and I'm the Business Development Director for Trindera Engineering. We are an electrical and controls engineering firm, and we're based actually out of Coeur d'Alene, but work throughout the greater Northwest. In just 7 short years, we've grown to over 27, almost 30 staff, so I bring an interesting perspective of growing a small company amidst economic difficult time in the economy. And we work in all different markets, everything from municipal water, wastewater to wood products, pulp and paper, heavy industrial. We also do a lot of commercial design, so medical, office, retail, all across the board.
Absolutely.
So a wide variety of services.
And I know, Taryn, you're very actively involved in local organizations. You want to talk a little bit about that for a second?
Sure. Been on the board for Marketing Associates of Spokane for 6 years and past president, and then also other community boards. Marketing Associates supports the architecture, engineering, and construction industry. So we're a good group that augments not only marketing professionals, but also principal level staff in our industry.
Yeah, and for this community, especially Marketing Associates is a great value. They have tremendous events and offerings. They're a great group. And then I know, Matt, you're also part of, is it AAIA?
AIA Spokane.
Okay.
I'm actually president this year of the local chapter. We represent all the architects here in town, as well as partner with the engineers and contractors. It's a great organization, nonprofit group, and so, yeah, it's exciting.
Awesome. Okay, Mr. Reese.
Great. Good morning. My name's Tom Reese. I'm the Business Development Director with Lydig Construction. We're about a 50-year-old company based and founded here in the Northwest. We've got about 130 people. We do projects all over the country, everything from medical, office, up to large detention facilities, railroad facilities, everything all the way down to special projects group that do tenant improvements such as the Mobius Museum here in downtown, and very happy to be here.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're very fortunate to have these 3 folks with us today. I want to talk a little bit about maybe the 30,000-foot view, maybe sort of the economy, and build sort of a conversation around what's going on today in the local economy around building and construction versus where we were maybe 2011 and maybe even a little bit before that. So anyone want to take a stab at just sort of how you're feeling about, obviously for your own business, how it's affecting you? What are you seeing from this year and projects versus last year or a couple of years ago?
I'll jump in.
Yeah, go ahead.
We actually, obviously the economy nationwide was very, very tough, but we actually finished the year with one of our best years ever, surprisingly. We finished with about a $300 million backlog going into 2012. Granted, the profitability on those projects is not nearly what we'd like it to be, but nonetheless, it's still a very robust pipeline. 2011, we really downsized or right-sized in a lot of different ways, put a lot more emphasis on business development and marketing and relationship building, really focusing our entire company culture on that concept of building relationships. Going into 2012, like I said, we've got a great backlog and a great pipeline of potential projects. We're looking at entire new markets. We're not doing a lot and not seeing a lot actually in the Spokane area. Our Bellevue office is doing a lot of work. We just opened up a Tri-Cities office that we're very, very excited about the opportunities down there. And quite honestly, we're looking to the North Dakota area. If you can't do work in this area, you've got to go where the markets are deep, and perhaps we're going to get into that market pretty heavy. We just finished a big project there, actually, is why we're looking at it.
Excellent, outstanding. Taryn, what do you think? What are you seeing as far as the comparisons?
2011, can agree, was our best year ever. Can reflect on some of those sentiments. We hear similar things from our civil engineering clients, but different things from the architects. Maybe Matt can speak a little bit to that. There's a lot of attrition in that market. As echoing Tom's comments, Tri-Cities market's attractive. We're looking at a lot of the assisted living markets. We've had a good capture of that. North Dakota expanding outside of our region. What I think is interesting, though, is to work with team players that are in our region and companies, but pursuing projects outside of the region. So we're still performing the work here, but maybe capturing things out of area. 2012 for us, similar thing, one of the best backlogs that we can project. And one of the reasons is because of our diversification across different markets, pulling from different funding cycles, and also pursuing a lot of the smaller contracts, but pushing into elevating the longer lead contracts. We have a couple of big ones at wastewater treatment plants and other municipal entities around the region.
Sure.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, looks good for 2012 for us.
Matt, how are things looking?
Well, just 2011, tough year for us. A lot of firms, we grew to 30 people and really weathered the storm. We kind of rode it longer than a lot of people, but last May we had to downsize to 23, so within about a month we lost 7 people. First time we'd ever have to lay anybody off in the history of our firm. That was a tough couple months there, but kind of survival mode of just maintaining 23 people. And right now we're looking pretty good in terms of 2012 versus 11. It was a pretty tight year for us. Just kind of scraping by with projects. But right as soon as January started, I mean, literally the phone started ringing for projects, asking for proposals. I mean, all of us right now are just feeling that that it's going to be a good year. So, but we're very diverse too, and so our hands are in lots of different things. We're looking at projects in Oregon, Montana, all over. We don't just work in Spokane, just like Tom's saying. We've had to branch out too.
You got to go where the projects are, obviously, yeah. So one of the questions I get most frequently from members of LaunchPad is, I'm not an expert in business development or building relationships. I obviously, my job is to go find more work for my firm, fill the pipeline. And I know from the three of you, that's really in your positions, that's really what you do. So let's talk a little bit about that. How do you approach business development? Is it, I'm out there just looking for end user projects and trying to meet with the decision makers, that straight path right to the folks that are making the decision? Do you have a different kind of strategy? Can you talk a little bit about your strategy without giving away, all your trade secrets? So what do you think, Matt?
Interesting. It's tough. I mean, not everybody on the street needs an architect, right? And so we're selling our professional services and not selling.
But they all need contractors for their projects, right?
Absolutely. It's like selling widgets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What I heard another architect friend of mine said, the chase, we call it the chase after projects. The chase is always there, but the chase is a lot harder. And we're finding if you don't have that critical information of knowing who the person is before the project, if you read about it in the Journal of Business, if you see it in the paper, if you get the ad that comes via email, it's almost too late. I mean, you still have a shot at it, and we still go after projects, but I mean, it's so critical to find out ahead of time, and that's just a huge challenge, just trying to find those key decision makers, find out, what projects coming down the pipeline a year, 2 years, 6 months in advance, as much as you can to find that out. Talk to those people, maybe offer some services to, can we help you do some planning, help you do some site planning, whatever it is. Boy, you have such a better shot to get that project.
So basically, in a nutshell, just get in the door.
Get in the door.
Get in the door. Do something creative to get in the door.
Yes.
To be there first.
Be there first.
Before it hits the street.
Yes.
Well, I think it's really critical, and the three of us, we come from sort of similar but very different backgrounds, but it's all about understanding how projects happen from inception all the way through. And so I think what we three really understand and appreciate is you go way upstream in the project development process, the critical path, and get to the point, get to the headwater, and that's usually the client or the owner that's ideating about a potential project.
Right.
Yep, way ahead of time. One other comment. We're a little bit different because we're a sub-consultant on about 80% of our projects. So like we're talking about getting to that end user and understanding the project while it's being conceptualized, we also have to have a lot of strategic relationships. So I think that's really important to know who those teaming partners are that can pull you into projects. Most of our clients actually are architects and other engineers.
Right.
So for us, it's not just the end user owner contact, but we have to have a lot of the strategic relationships too.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because one of the things we talk about is build a team, build a virtual sales team to help you so that you can go build that relationship. Obviously, you got to identify them, build a team, and I'm almost positive, because I talk to top performers all the time and just ask them, just wishing I was one, that I could learn, how are you in the top 1%? You meet real estate agents, they're building relationships with people in their industry. So I'm so glad you said that, and I think everybody needs to remember that part of it. So go ahead, Tom.
And Matt mentioned, we used to chase projects. One of the things that we've really driven hard into all of our folks and to create a culture around relationship building is you don't chase projects, you chase relationships and people, and the projects will come
Love
from
it.
that.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's brilliant advice. I really like that.
Can I add something?
Go ahead, you bet.
I think the best decision for us as a firm was to hire landscape architects. When I say that, not just doing trees and shrubs, it's the whole land planning process, and we have 3 great architects. Our lead landscape architect is also a professional illustrator, and a lot of times the key to get a project is just an image, a site plan, a study, and that kind of early on is, here's my piece of property, how big of a building can I build, how much parking, how much this, how much that, sometimes just a little sketch, and we do that, and all of a sudden we've got that inroad to that project. So for us to have, in our own office, these land planners, master plan, site planning, that is just super critical to us, and we have seen that just help our firm.
How important is it to, target specific industries? Let's say that you're targeting, I think you had, somebody had mentioned waste management. Was that you, Taryn? Tom, you have kind of an interesting target. How did you guys decide what targets to go after? Is it just a financial thing? Is it an expertise thing? How do you do that?
It's a real challenge, because we have a Bellevue office and a Tri-Cities office, and the Bellevue office has the opportunity to be an inch wide and a mile deep in that market, because there's a bigger, deeper market there. Spokane's, from a business development standpoint, is a much bigger challenge. We're trying to build a market here and build relationships. We've been here for 50 years, but I constantly get the comment made to me, gosh, we know about Lydig, but we really don't know Lydig. Right. And so I've really worked hard at building our resume and our portfolio in Spokane. Well, that requires that I spread myself really thin. Right. So this year, actually, we're really taking a step back and narrowing that down into some very key focused markets. Obviously some emerging ones are the data sector and the medical sector. Obviously the oil and the energy work we're looking at the alternative energy markets like wind farms and things like that. Biotech, biomed. Obviously our detention facilities, our jails, the economy's terrible. It's not a glamorous part of our portfolio, but as long as society wants to put people away in jail, we'll be there to build them for you. In schools, I think that's another one. But and so it's a huge discipline process to narrow that down.
Sure, yeah. I think there's a science in there, right? The people that really figure that out early and then really go after those targets, it's really important. So I'm going to open it up to questions. Does anybody in the audience have any specific questions you'd like to ask of anyone on the panel?
How do you believe the concept of sustainable building has affected the way you guys are kind of doing things going forward into the 21st century?
Good question. Yeah, that's a good question. There's different programs, say LEED, L-E-E-D program, which is a great program. Our own building that we did, we went after a LEED certification, and we actually got 2 different certifications on our own building, but there's a real cost to that in terms of the administrative cost. It's hard to kind of describe that because we believe in sustainable design. Some of it's just good practices. Sometimes you have to tell contractors not to do it. There's so many green products and things out there, so we're fully... But to go after a whole certified project, there is a real cost in terms of time to actually administer it, to actually document it. And some clients just aren't willing to pay for that. They want green products, green materials, but maybe they aren't willing to go after the full extent. It's kind of hard to describe that to somebody, but there is some real cost involved. But we're finding maybe the construction costs aren't that much extra. I don't know if you want to echo that. It's kind of a hard question, but
it is, and we come in, after the building has been designed most of the time, although we're getting better about joint venturing and doing design build up front. But we've really committed to the whole green building and sustainable building movement. We see it not only obviously as having marketing value, but various owners and clients, they want that, and they want their architects to do it. They want their builders to understand it and do it. To the extent that every one of our project managers, our project engineers, our job superintendents, and including myself, will be LEED certified over the next year or so. And we've already got most of our people already LEED certified, and it's a big deal. We're very proud of it.
Yeah. So I'll add to it. We're finding clients that do want it and others that they're not interested in it, but we definitely talk about it. Some of the things we did in our own building was to kind of be a showcase to say, here's some things that you can do, especially like in old buildings, make it sustainable, make it a green building on a 100-year-old building, and it's possible to do that. It doesn't just have to be new construction. And then the state has mandated, say, any like schools, any new school or major renovation, major modernization has to be LEED Silver, which is a certain level. So the state has backed it. So there's certain projects that you just have to do it, which is, I think, a good thing.
Any other questions? So one of the questions I get most often if someone's looking to go into a career field is, how do I find people in the industry? I think MASS is a great organization to go and network with. AIA. Are there any other organizations that, I think there's a Spokane Home Builders is another one. Are there any other organizations or groups or trade associations around?
Yes. There's a lot that support the ACEC, civil engineers, mechanical engineers, society professional engineers, both Washington and Idaho. All the commerce entities are great to be a part of. We were just talking, there's specific trade industries for aviation, for mining, for architecture. I mean, if there's a trade, there's a group for it locally.
Is there a resource that has all that information in one place?
Us.
Okay. Thank you for that. Anything online or any single organization that makes that all available just to make it easier as a resource pool? Yes, sir.
The library.
I bet you Mark Pond from the Spokane Library has an idea. Yeah? And so the library, what's the best way to get access to that resource?
Probably to just contact me first off, but there is an online database that we subscribe to that has associations and trade groups.
Okay. It was kind of a trick question, but I'll explain why in a minute.
I'm Mike Taylor, and I'm Director of Planning, Engineering, and Building Services for the City of Spokane. And one of the tasks I have is to get us singing off the same sheet of music. So we're going to be actually evaluating architects, engineers, landscape architects in terms of their submittals. And we're going to create a gold, silver, and bronze list in the City of Spokane. So if you're a gold level performer in the City of Spokane, you really do provide quality and value to your clients. You'll be able to market that out of the area. And also we will refer to the total list, not to specific consultants, who's on our gold list. And if you want to move your project through to a certificate of occupancy, that's a good place to begin. So,
and you and I have talked several times, and you're obviously at the City of Spokane, they're undergoing a little bit of a change in culture and leadership. Can you talk a little bit about some of the early conversations that are kind of going around City Hall and really around permitting, and anything that you want to share with us today?
Well, absolutely. I mean,
and there's no one from the press here, I don't think.
Doesn't matter. I can't remember what I said before, so I'll just tell you what I believe. I'm excited about it because there's a high focus on basically local businesses and professionals. So the architects, engineers, contractors are a local asset, and what we want to do is enhance their ability to perform. We also want to enhance the ability of people to make quality investments in the City of Spokane. So the revitalization, the focus on small business are specific cultural focuses that are basically emerging out of all of this. So we're digging into our rules, we're digging into our processes, we're digging into our personalities. We're even doing a certified ambassador training. So how we interact with you as the public is important to us. We want it to be the best experience you can possibly have for the right reasons. So
sure.
Those are all things we're doing.
Yeah, I was invited to a kind of a roundtable discussion of organizational leaders, and the first thing that struck me was in this kind of war room environment, the conference room, there's some giant documents that are blown up as far as a flow chart for the permitting system and the permitting process. So I know that's top of mind of the new mayor and his administration. So I'm excited about that because I know we went through a permitting process, which was interesting. But I know you guys are working on that, and I know it's top of mind. And I think that's an important one that we're going to want to talk about.
So the measurable outcome is that right now it takes us an average of 52 days to process a commercial building project. Mm-hmm. And quite frankly, from my experience with you folks, it's pretty much average for communities our size and sophistication. You know, we're wonderful compared to Bellevue and to Seattle, and we're terrible compared to Great Falls or something. Mm-hmm. So, but we want to be the best that we can be.
Right.
So at the end of this process, we should drop from 52 days to 30 or less. Mm-hmm. And we expect to have that in place absolutely by 30 June, but I'm hoping to have it by 31st of March.
Sure.
Most of it.
Outstanding.
Yeah, and I know from getting to know Tom, and Tom used to work at the city, obviously, and Matt, you've done a number of projects. I'm not sure if you get involved in this level or not, but talk real briefly about the importance of, looking at the city also as you do partnerships and other folks, right? Yes. We need to develop a partnership where if you're presenting a plan or you're putting a package together, it's important to build a relationship where you understand what they need, and they can be a resource too. So it also comes back on the professional community, right, to really look at it as partly on your plate,
right,
to set that up correctly. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I can. When we do project schedules, we can control design, meetings, everything, and then we get up to this point where it says we go in for permit. That's a big deadline. You have this permit set, you go in for permit, and then we tell our clients, unfortunately, we can't control that. Could be a month, could be 2 months, 3 months, 6 weeks. If it's a small enough project, we can do an over-the-counter permit, but they have to meet a very small requirement. That is hard to tell our clients that we have no idea when this is going to be ready. We're going to do all we can, and I think our firm does a really good job and has a good reputation of doing really good documents. I personally know a lot of those people. I go down there, I know them all by their first name, built relationship, and that is so important to me, mm-hmm, to know them by name, know the inspectors, know the plan reviewers, the planners, the building officials. I just go down there and talk to them. What do you need? I go down and we have even review plans sometimes before I submit. So it's just important for me to build that relationship for our firm, help our clients get through that process as quickly as possible. But it is frustrating when you just can't say they're ready to start. They may have financing in place, contractor on board, and we don't have a permit.
Right, yeah.
Very frustrating,
And we don't want to get into the details or the nuts and bolts of it. It's always good to know that the city's working on it.
Yes.
Tom, you come from a different angle. I mean, you were inside, inside City Hall, but also now you're on the outside.
Right.
Talk a little about your experience.
Well, it's and Mike and the crew down there are doing an outstanding job at looking at ways that they can improve, and it's they're doing, mm-hmm, a lot better than a lot of, yes, other municipalities that we do projects in and that I've worked in, and so when you have a team that understands that process and understands the constraints, it helps us to advise our clients,
yes,
what the expectation is. I guess I want to go a little bit further upstream again in terms of thinking about projects. The city or the agencies can only do so much, but we have so many projects in this region, especially in this community, mm-hmm, that are teed up and ready to go, but it's going to come down to a community partnership, not just with the agencies and the municipalities. Things like the new jail proposal, things like the convention center expansion, things like the schools, all of the School District 81, their bond projects, the combined sewer overflow project, the north-south corridor. I mean, these are millions and millions and millions of dollars of infrastructure and vertical building projects that benefit the entire community. But it's going to take the community to make those happen. Those are going to come to a public vote or public discussion. And so we all need to be out saying we need to build. We need, right, to get construction and building going, yes, on in this town in order to turn this economy around.
So that's a great lead into kind of our final segment and final part of the conversation. What can municipalities, what can organizations, what can people do to really foster more growth around construction and development and building? It's obviously has a very important multiplier effect on the local economy. Mm-hmm. If you look at, there's one crane downtown right now. I haven't seen a crane in downtown in, a few years. But it's obviously part of the economy. And congratulations to GSI and University District and WSU and all those people that are working so hard in DSP, all those organizations. But that was a big effort. Mm-hmm. What else could be done to help foster more of these kind of projects? Is it highlighting more of the projects so that people see that there's great investment opportunities here? Is it just doing more of what we're doing now and really elevating the conversation? I mean, what do you guys think?
I think it's a conversation like this, quite honestly, and one that's very frank, and getting people to understand and be enlightened about how a community is built. Number one, it's built, by investment from the public sector and the private sector, and understanding that it's like us going upstream on our projects. The community's got to understand you got to go upstream too and facilitate that. When you have a great project coming on board like the Jensen Bird Building, outside company, outside investment that are rock stars in their industry, and they get pushback about coming in and investing in Spokane the way that they want to. I think we need to have a dialogue about that. There's a breaking point where we're stopping growth and development.
So you think there's a real issue that we could discuss if we maybe shine a light on it a little bit?
I believe so.
Okay, that's good. That's good. I bet most people, is there an issue here in Spokane where we don't want to talk about that kind of stuff?
Go ahead, guys. I don't want to talk about it.
I'm just innocent here. I don't know much about this industry. I'm just trying to learn more. Anybody want to step into that? I mean, talk about that?
Well, maybe it's just not organized and the understanding. Like, for example, you're talking about with Public Facilities District, the arena, different expansion. A lot of people don't understand that those are existing taxes that we're just renewing. So I think allowing those groups to speak to more platforms, educate people more about why we're developing, and that maybe it's a lot of these bonds levies are just to sustain what we have, or to develop some new construction that's been in the works for a while. So I think better communication is going to help push those projects forward.
Okay. Absolutely.
Yeah.
If I put on my AIA hat, not my private firm hat, and Chris Moreland's an AIA architect who's in the audience as well. Our message to the state in terms of helping fund state projects, large and small, and I have a perfect example of one here in Spokane. Our message is pencil-ready projects. We need to fund pencil-ready projects from the state level, not just shovel-ready projects. Shovel-ready is great, but our message is saying if you don't fund these pencil-ready projects, design projects, then there's going to be nothing to build. And there's all these pencil-ready projects that are waiting on design funds. Not even the construction money. We're just asking for a little piece, little crumb of the pie to design, and then they'll be ready, shovel-ready. And a lot of big projects take a year to design, can take 18 months, 2 years, some are less. But there's this big gap that's going to happen if there's not the funding of pencil-ready projects. So that's our message to Olympia.
So if I'm hearing you guys correctly, as you tiptoed around that whole subject, smartly, by the way, we do need to have more of a conversation. We need to have maybe a little bit of a tough conversation about what is really happening around investment and what that really means for the public projects, for the private projects. We also, as professionals, need to really try to get in the door before projects hit the Journal of Business.
Yes.
As professionals, obviously build relationships. That's why LaunchPad is in existence. We want to help you build those relationships. But try to be targeted. Try to build that sales team. Also, as I think most everybody should know by now, I say this all the time, 80% of jobs are found through the hidden job market because most companies are just not advertising jobs these days. Now, I think through WorkSource, they have a great database, and you will see some jobs advertised. But who do you think are the people that are going to get to the top of that resume pile and get the interview? Is it people that just come in off the street with no relationships, or is it people that have been working to build those relationships? And I think that's something to really take away from this. And then lastly, I think the city is doing a lot to help with this. I think we, as an organization, will partner with other organizations. And what I was getting at with that question was, within the communities of LaunchPad, you're going to start to see a listing of all the local organizations that relate to this industry. MASS, AIA, all the trade associations. So we'll start sending that information out to all the members of this community so you know where to go to for help as a resource. And then we'll provide links to all these other organizations as well. And we'll promote their events. Excellent. I think it's important to start going to all the events related to your industry. And that's how you're going to build a diverse network. So I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank the audience for being here. We have lunch served next door, so please stick around and build some of those relationships and get to know one another. Thank you again, and we'll see you on LaunchPad, and also please come to some of the events to continue building your relationships. And let's give them a round of applause, everybody.